The back, okay. Yes, awesome, thank you. All right, thank you for being here today, everyone. I'm gonna kick us off. My name is Nicole Guernsey. Everyone, call and response. So I'm gonna say, hi, my name is Nicole. And I want everyone to say, hi, Nicole. Ready?
Good morning, Miss Nicole.
Right?
It's too early.
Hi, my name is Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
There we go, we're awake now. And you all are like, she took her ADHD meds this morning and maybe the free brunch is not worth it. Okay. So this event is very special to me because I applied for grant money to put this on. It's a cause I care about. I really love the LGBTQ plus community, family members and friends. I am originally from California, so moving to the South and feeling like the community was so disparate and not as welcome and not as supported. And it was a very hard reality for me to face. And I just decided I needed to get more involved. One of the things I love about the company that I work for, Equitable, is that unlike a lot of other companies that, with the whole DEI, like we're not supposed to say it, and they Homer Simpson into the bushes, like diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. And it's not going away, it's just transforming because we have to keep it going. And as you know, the name of the company I just mentioned is Equitable, so it's in the name, right? They're not going anywhere and they want to support this community. So I'm really proud of that. All right, today's agenda. I'm gonna start off with our keynote speaker. We're gonna have a lovely panel of experts. We'll have questions that we're planning to ask them, but then there will be an opportunity for live Q&A. You will get a break, and in that break time, it will be last call for food because at 12 o'clock, Velvet Hippo opens to the public, and I promised them that we would have our food stuff put away by the time their guests start to arrive. But you can stay, you can hang out. So that break will be last call for food. You'll get maybe 10 minutes, chill. I will come back here and yell at you again, and then we're gonna do a little workshop. So the other thing I will say is for my portion of the workshop, you are gonna need your cell phones. We're gonna do an interactive workshop. And if anybody needs the Wi-Fi password, it is capital C, cocktails and dreams, all one word, the rest of it's lowercase. If you need that again, just let us know. All right, business aside, it's time to introduce our keynote speaker, the lovely, the wonderful, Deanna Jones, President of Harmony NC, the LGBTQ plus and Allied Chamber of Commerce. Deanna is such an amazing person. She's faced so much adversity, and she has turned it into an amazing career as an inspirational speaker. So I am proud to hand it off and let her kick us off for this event.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Yes, this is wonderful. I've heard so many good compliments about the food, so great job.
That's Velvet Hippo. Compliment that.
And the Velvet Hippo, thank you. A round of applause for the Velvet Hippo. Have any of you ever felt like you were somewhere you just didn't belong? Yeah, okay, yeah, that's mostly all of us, right? We've all felt that way. It could have been at a social gathering, or maybe an event that was at work, or maybe it was throughout your past. That was kind of the story of my past. Take you back to the second grade cafeteria. Yes, we all remember the smell of mystery meat swimming in some congealed gravy, recent vomit on the floor. There were always two tables. There was one table for the boys, and there was one table for the girls. It was the 70s. And never did the twain meet, except for one boy. This one boy liked to sit at the girls' table. And people would see him over there and wonder, why is he sitting with the girls? One day, he's sitting down with the girls, and he looks like he's having the time of his life. He's laughing and, yes, I guess giggling. And then a chant starts in very low from the boys' table. David is a fairy, David is a fairy. Look at that film wad over there. And the boy gets bright red, and then the chants get louder. Louder and louder. David is a fairy, David is a fairy, until I just want to cover my ears because it sounds like glass shattering. And I want to say, just leave that boy alone. Leave him alone. Leave me alone. That boy was me. I was the one sitting at that table. I wanted to cry, but boys don't cry, do they? And it just wasn't the boys in the cafeteria. I had a whole host of people who wanted to write my script, who wanted to tell me how I should be. David, stop talking so much in class. Stop laughing so much. My baseball coach. David, you run like a girl. And then worst of all, my own dad. You're just like your sisters. We should put you in a dress. Please? My dad constantly said, man up. You need to man up. Boys don't cry. Boys do this. My dad had a lot wrapped up in my identity as a male. On my 13th birthday, he gave me a birthday card. And it said, a son is the greatest gift a father can give to the world. Surprise, world! But eventually my dad's desires and the desires of everyone else started an avalanche of betrayals. I intentionally lowered my voice. I stopped laughing so much and smiling all the time. I learned to wear a suit. I wanted to go to prom in a dress, but I don't think I could have shown up at my date's door and her dad opened the door. That would have been disastrous. So I learned how to trade away little bits of my authenticity just so I could be accepted. I followed the path, the script that everybody writes for men. You go, you get a good job, where you wear a suit and tie. And then I got married. I had 3 kids. I just kept betraying who I was. Just keep burying yourself again and again, and maybe you can be who they want you to be. The only problem is now I'm in my 50s and I'm burying myself in all the wrong ways. I am drinking too much. I am full of rage about everything. And worst of all, I have no more love for myself. I am now in a crawl space underneath my house, if but for a moment, just to get to be myself. Now, when you're in a crawl space, you can do one of 2 things. You can just lay down and let the dirt cover you up, or you can crawl out. I crawled out. I came out of that crawl space in every way. I shed every aspect of my life that wasn't real to me. I made decisions on what I needed to do just so I could survive. Because I wasn't ready to die yet, but I probably would have at a much earlier age in my 50s. And once I did that, it was like setting off a nuclear bomb in my family. I lost my wife and my 3 kids. And so there I am, stuck in a bachelorette apartment. It's not nearly as sexy as it sounds. But I am just missing the kids running in the room and jumping on the bed yelling, "It's Saturday, time for pancakes." This was the worst disruption of my life. But I leaned into my change. It took me a while. It took me a while to pick myself up. But I decided that I was going to start making decisions not based on who accepts me or who pays me, but joy. So I decided that I had one more transition to make, because the place where I worked was a technology company, and I started there in 1999, and it was like a magical place. We had Margarita Fridays, we had bands come in, you know, technology companies in the 90s, they were so wonderful, beanbag chairs, all of that, pinball machines. But lately, especially after I transitioned there, just the work didn't resonate with me. It wasn't something that lit me up. How many of us get to do something that lights you up, that you know is your passion? I went to my manager numerous times and I said, I want to do something with teaching or education. I was in sales operations, and he seemed to just tell me, just stay where you are. I remember one time saying, can you connect me with somebody? And he goes and he looks at the company director and says, oh, yeah, reach out to them. That's like saying I'm looking for a bank, and he Googles banks. There was no clear path for me. The place became toxic. It was a different place. Until one day, a VP walks into one of our meetings, and we're expressing concern about an initiative, and he says, if you don't like it, you can leave. Can you believe that? This wasn't 5 years ago, 10 years ago. This was last year. If you don't like it, you can leave. Okay. I was ready to go. I couldn't do this work in Excel spreadsheets anymore. I knew I had to do something different. So I said, okay, I'll put my hand up for a layoff. And they said, no, we're not going to let you do that. So then I have to go find a Gen Zer, and I say, psst, how do you quiet quit? I really don't know. I'm kind of a baby boomer. First of all, I had to wake them up, right? Of course. Yeah. Put the cover on the TPS reports. That's funny because it's really true. We got an Office Space fan. Yeah. So I detached. And I detached and quiet quitted so much that they said, okay, we're ready for you to leave now. And when they did that, I almost thought, oh wow, I'm just like at that place where I have to leave my job, my paycheck. What am I going to do now? I had been speaking here and there. I was invited to go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting. It was the Raleigh Chamber. And I had told my story, and after I told my story, I had a lot of people. And I figured, doesn't matter, I don't have a full plan, but I am going to just get out in my community. And I am going to stand on stages. And I got up, and I started speaking. Sometimes my voice trembled, but I told the truth. After speaking in that chamber meeting, I knew that's where my passion was. And my passion is being an advocate for all the communities that need me, that need all of us. It wasn't easy, but eventually I found not just a community of speakers, which I have a member of my community of speakers here with me. Yes, Dr. Susie, that's you. Yes. I didn't find competition in the speaking industry. I found cooperation. It's wonderful how we all work together. And then I joined about 6 chambers. I settled on this one, and I'll tell you the story of how I came to this one a little bit later, but I found a community in this chamber. I found a community of LGBTQ plus members in the community, and speakers, and people. And you can ask my wife, I go to every event that I can. I just love being out and talking to people. So how did all of this work for me? It wasn't just one big change. It was a series of small revolutions. a series of moments where I chose to be seen, to be supported, and to be strengthened. Not just by others, but by myself. So what do I mean when I say we want to be seen? Much of the LGBTQ plus community has had to go without being seen for a majority of their life. We need to change that. The 3 ways that you can be seen are: first, name it. Name what you are going through. I didn't name it for many, many years. It made me a very unhealthy person. I finally went to a therapist who was a gender specialist, and she says, "Deanna, you're transgender." And I think I scared her because I said, "That's it!" We needed to name that. You know, it's not, we have all sorts of slurs against our community. Deviant, cross-dresser, I mean, all the LGBTQ plus communities had slurs against them. But I wanted to name what I was going through, and all of us need to do that. A great way to do that is start a journal. When I was going through my divorce, I started a journal every night, wrote down what had happened to me, just naming how I felt. The second thing is reconnect with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? I was at my job, I hated it. It was just something I hated doing it, and I think it showed that I was not engaged, like a lot of us aren't. More than, a third of the workforce is abjectly unengaged. And so I needed to see what my why was. And just like I have known that I was a girl since I was 4 years old, I have known that I love to stand up and teach other people. I wanted to be a teacher, but my dad said, "No, you're not going to make any money at that." That's probably true, but it was something that lit me up. What is the cost when we give something up like that? So reconnect with your why. The third one is advocate. Advocate without apology. When I mean advocate, I don't mean just say, "Oh, I support you." You need to advocate not just for yourself, but for your community, whatever it is. Make sure you're standing up for yourself and other people, and don't apologize. When I first transitioned to the technology company, I remember walking in the girls' bathroom, and I had to advocate to use that bathroom. And when I was in there, there would be some women that would come in there and just kind of stop a little bit. And that made me so nervous. So what did I do? I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "I'm sorry" in the bathroom so many times. And then finally, one woman says to me, "Did you just fart? What are you sorry for?" And I was like, "Yeah, what am I sorry for?" And I don't know, all I know is she said to me, "You have every right to be here just as anyone else." That was beautiful. If we can advocate, we can be a mirror for our community so that people can see advocacy wins. How do you get supported? Speak up. We can't do this by staying silent. I think everybody here knows every part of my journey. Most of you do, because I've seen you at the meetings. But as a speaker, I started having events cancel on me. I speak about DEI and, of course, the LGBTQ plus community. And around October, people were like, "This is too political." And me not even thinking, I was like, "Okay, time to betray myself again. I'm going to talk about employee engagement. I'm not even going to tell people that I'm transgender. I'm just going to, keep that down in a jar, put the lid on it." Well, it didn't take me long to realize they are coming after us. It's not just about acceptance anymore. It's about existence. And when they came out with Senate Bill 519, I believe, it would take away my identity. It would take away my right to use the restroom of my choice. I realized I'm in a war and I need to speak up. We all need to speak up for each other. That's how our community has succeeded. And now's not the time to shy away from that. We need to speak up. Second one for being supported. Build your circle. Create a board of directors, friends that you have, people who will listen to you. Not everybody needs to hear your whole story. Melina's in here, and I think one day I shocked her a little bit, and I just gave her my whole story. Not everybody does. She laughs, but everybody else is thinking, oh my God, that must have been horrible for her. But make sure that you have people that support you. I want to tell you something about how I came to Harmony. CJ invited me, and I got to the meeting. I didn't know anybody there. CJ was a member of ours, and I couldn't find her. And I see all these people, and it was still pretty early. I wasn't so bold, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to turn around and walk out and go to the car. It's fine. And then somebody stopped me, and they introduced themselves, and they asked me, said, tell me about yourself. Now, as a transgender woman, I've always been scared of that. You know, when I was in my 20s and I got asked that in a job interview, tell me about yourself. I don't really know about myself yet. I haven't figured it out. I actually didn't figure it out until 40-something years, sorry, can't do math very well. 30 years later, I didn't figure it out. But that question just kind of unnerves me. But this time I said, no, I am going to tell this person about who I am and what I've been through. And just to say that, just to name that in front of him felt so good. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was talking to the president of the chamber, Kay Kimber. And today, I'm president of that chamber, Harmony, LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce. Third thing for being supported is celebrate. Celebrate your wins. You have wins every day. I know there's a lot of loss, but if you're able to see somebody support you, or you're able to get something done for the community or for yourself, celebrate that. There are not a lot of wins going on right now, but if we have some, for instance, I go to the state legislature. I go to speak up against these laws. Now, it was a win for me to get up and speak, but it wasn't a win for anybody else because they don't listen. I don't know if you've been to the state legislature recently, but it goes something like this. Okay, all those in favor say yay, all those opposed say nay, bill is passed. Just like that. You know the old adage, don't look at the sausage being made. That's a lot of what it was like. So, seen, supported, and the final one is strengthened. How do we get strengthened and lift ourselves up? I don't care what disruption you've been through in life. If you had a before and you had an after, this is how you look at it. You write your new story. I had an old story. David wearing a suit, doing work that he hated. David getting divorced from his wife of 26 years. Her kids not talking to her. That was all part of my story. Write your new story about where you are. Because we all need to identify. Bruce Feller says that those people who seek clarity in transitions don't always get it. But those who seek a new narrator themselves for their story will get through a transition much easier, no matter what that transition is. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what it means for you. Final point I'll say is, after you write your story, start telling people. Tell people your story. We have the best stories. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit biased, But in being in this community, and being in any community, I always get to hear stories from people. But stories from our LGBTQ plus community are the ones that end up making me cry or resonate with me. When I took my first trip to the Durham LGBTQ plus center, I didn't know anything. I remember somebody said something about HRT. I said, what's HRT? It's hormone replacement therapy. But I do know when they told me the next day I was at Walgreens. That's another story. But somebody had to tell me their story about what they've been through. And that's what people did. And all of a sudden I thought, I'm not alone. I'm with other people. So write your news story and then start telling people. You don't have to do it on a stage. You can do that anywhere. So I've been through the 3 ways that you are seen, that you are supported, and that you are strengthened. There was a lot of shame before I crawled out of that hole, but that didn't have to be my life story. If you're somewhere in the in-between in life, and there was a before, and there was an after, make sure you get those moments where you are seen and supported and strengthened. You're not too late. You're not too loud. You are becoming who you are always meant to be. Thank you.
Well, that was amazing. I'm sorry to my panelists. Just kidding. You have to follow that. Thank you so much, Deanna. Honestly, I met Deanna about 6 months ago and got really involved in Harmony and was blessed that she was like, Nicole, I want you to join the board. And it has been such an amazing experience. I'm brand new, but I will say that this community is, you said you're biased, but this community is the best community.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, panelists, can I have you come up? Cheers to y'all.
Want some water?
I am going to make you guys pass back and forth. So. Yeah. We wanted to do something a little different because I feel like we always want to talk to experts or want the knowledge. We're Googling and we don't know how to clarify. And it's really hard to know who to ask, who to trust, and get that time for yourself with that expert, but just for yourself, right? Take that time to get the knowledge. So I wanted to bring up an impact panel. These are all experts in their field. I'll introduce them real quick. But first to my right is Benjamin Oysmith, CFP. He is my partner, business partner, and a certified financial planner. We've got Jenny Snyder, Snyder Law PLC. She is a expert estate planner, or estate attorney, I should say. We've got Milan Pham of Nicholson Pham Law. Nicholson Pham is an LGBTQ specific law firm, which is incredible, and she is an attorney there. And then we've got Dr. Michael Wetzel from Equitable. He is actually the medical director of Equitable and helps us with building our medical guidelines for writing insurance and just really understanding how that can work and how Equitable can be more equitable. So I'm going to hand it off and ask you each to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do and specialize in.
Thank you, Nicole. Benjamin Oysmith. I'd like to say most of the things I tell people usually start with depends when people ask me questions. The reason that matters is because we try to be a trusted resource for people. There's so much information out there, and really the taxes and finances are optimized in a way that if you don't know the way how to use it, then you're going to end up behind. And our goal is to be a trusted resource for people and help them with their specific situation.
Good morning. morning. I'm Jenny Snyder with Snyder Law, and I'm an estate planning attorney. One of the things that I do is run an education-based practice where you really get to see what it looks like and what it can look like, because everybody wants an outcome and not